So everyone, welcome back to a brand new news roundup video, and today we've got quite a few things to talk about. We've got Matt Reeves. Finally, I think this is his actual first comment on the Batman 2's development, and also we got the preview of the Penguin series with the Batman going back into theaters, and I've got all the details about what was in that preview, just in case you didn't get to see it for yourself, and several other stories in this video. So let's just jump right into this. Go ahead, leave a like if you enjoy these news roundups, and of course, consider subscribing if you want to stay up to date on all of the latest news that we cover here. So today, I wanted to start off with Rings of Power very briefly. I know not everyone watches it here. I covered season 1 on the channel, and you know, I have to admit, I thought that the trailers for season 2 did make it look quite a bit better, but that's the job of marketing, right? It's meant to look really good. Obviously, you know, it's meant to captivate you. Obviously, if you weren't so keen on season 1, they might make you think like, okay, maybe season 2 will improve. And now the reviews are coming out, and I believe the screeners got sent out with around 3 episodes. And interestingly here, we're seeing mixed reviews again. So you do have some reviews, if I just Google it literally here, some people are saying that the Rings of Power Season 2 is an even stronger expansion of Tolkien's mythos. But then you have other places saying the Rings of Power review, proof that money can't buy magic. You have even Variety here saying, and this one's quite, you know, Variety is obviously a big major trade, and they're saying the Rings of Power makes Lord of the Rings a boring slog in a lifeless Season 2. But then you have other places being like, yeah, no, it's actually pretty decent. It's improving on Season 1, but still leaves much to be desired kind of sentiments. And the Rotten Tomatoes scores, you know, say what you will about Rotten Tomatoes, are pretty high. But if there's anything we've learned, and I've seen other articles cover this as well, is that it's at 86% from critics, which is like pretty damn good. But then you had that same thing with The Acolyte, and I've seen some articles talk about something that is pretty relevant in how maybe Rotten Tomatoes shouldn't allow critic scores for television series in where they only get like the first 2 or 3 episodes of the season to actually watch and then put their official decree in a review for what the actual season 2 is like. Does that make sense? Because obviously if you only see 2 or 3 episodes and you're giving it like quite a high score on Rotten Tomatoes to the point of where they're at 86% and it makes it look really, really good, is that really reflective of the whole season? Not necessarily. So I do understand that sentiment as well. I will be watching season 2. I do not know if I'm going to make a video on it. I don't know how many of you particularly care about that, but I just wanted to chuck this in here right away. What do you think about the marketing for the Rings of Power Season 2? What are you thinking about the reviews? And actually, have you got a chance to check out Season 2 yet? Because I haven't as of when making this news video, but let me know any and all thoughts down in the comments below. But up next, we absolutely also have to talk about Fantastic Four, because a lot of people, I was live streaming last night, and every 2 minutes somebody new would come in being like, Boba, have you seen Ebon Moss Backrack's The Thing on set? It's amazing. You know, it looks like they're going really practical. And I did. I've seen it. By the way, I know I'm not showing on screen. I checked before this, and I saw some other YouTubers saying that they're actually sending copyright takedown notices, which is always interesting because anything captured like this from a distance, I don't see how that is following the letter of the law with regards to DMCA takedowns, but I'm not going to risk anything on this channel, but I trust that most of you have seen it already. But what we see here, interestingly, is that they're pulling down, you know, like in makeup, a lot of the time they pull like over these rubber kind of masks. A lot of people are mistaking this for it being like 100% practical, The Thing. Oh my God, they're actually doing it. I absolutely 100% don't think that's going to be the case. What they're doing here, and I don't even know if this is Ebon Moss Backrack. It could be like a stand-in actor. There is a person actually in that suit. You can see his hands. But the fact is they've got like the rubber over his like wrists, his arms. There's the rubber face of the Thing. And that's going to be like a reference point in where they'll like overlay some CGI over that. Because again, this is a rubber mask that won't emote over the mouth. It's not like an animatronic or anything like that. But it's it's a great reference point. And also, the main thing out of it is that it gives us our look at the Thing, and it's a fantastic look in terms of comic book accuracy. Like, everyone from what I'm seeing online, and, you know, Twitter is quite a vocal place on either side of the fence, and most people are really liking it. Just the comic book accuracy is very much so unapologetically going for that comic book accuracy. You've got the really broad, rigid eyebrows there on the Thing. I like what I'm seeing, but there's not, like, too much to say beyond that. Like, I've still got all these thoughts swirling in my head. You know, will Fantastic Four be pushed back a little bit, given that it only started filming, like, in the grand scheme of things, not too long ago at all. Yet it's releasing somehow at the same time as James Gunn's Superman, or near enough around the same time. And my whole conversation about that, not to pit them up against each other, is just the approach to a rushed product. I don't want to see that in the MCU. I want Fantastic Four to be really good, and obviously it's an insanely VFX-heavy movie. That should be, like, kind of self-explanatory with the Fantastic Four, their powers, Galactus, all kinds of things like that in space. Yet they're apparently aiming for a release date around the same time as Superman, when they've only just started filming recently, and they're going to accomplish all of this VFX post-production and then put it out at the same time, whereas Superman finished filming a little while ago now, and they've got, like, more or less a year of post to do. That is more of, like, the decent way to approach it, so you don't rush anything. And I just hope that Fantastic Four make the decision to push it back just a little bit if it means, like, getting everything polished as it should be. But on the bright side of things here, what we're seeing from the character design of the Thing is very pleasing. So I would love to know your thoughts on that, if you've seen it for yourself. If you haven't, I'm sorry I couldn't show it here, but just go on social media and you will see it in like 2 seconds if you search it up. Now moving over to the Batverse. So as you guys know, I covered recently with how Mattson Tomlin, he's got his new Terminator series coming out, by the way. I'm looking forward to watching that. The reason why I mentioned Mattson Tomlin is because he, you know, emphasized and confirmed what we had already heard, and how the Batman, they're gearing up. They're still, like, he's reconfirming that they're going to be filming next year. He didn't quite say early next year, and I kind of add that in there because even though we heard from Andy Serkis that it's early next year, you know, one does still wonder if it might not be March or like April. What if it's still like June or something like that, because of how we haven't got like proper confirmation of the script being completely done, and then obviously pre-production takes a while. You know, sometimes building sets takes like 4 or 5 months. But Matt Reeves was asked by a fan, and he was quite active last night on social media, which is a very rare sight for Matt Reeves, but he was active because of, obviously, it was the Batman going back in theaters with the Penguin preview, and he was replying to quite a few people, and we have this user saying, how's everything going with the Batman Part 2? And I'm genuinely surprised that he answered this, because, again, there's been various opportunities for him to say something about Part 2, but he hasn't. I'm just going to bring it up again here with what Matt Reeves says. But I thought the Batman Part 2 was cancelled. Well, apparently not. Just to slam it down, we have Matt Reeves saying, we are working away right now. Really excited. Just taking a short break to see the Bat fun. So it's nothing like crazy, but it's great seeing Matt Reeves basically say, like, they're literally working on it right now, as of the day of when he, like, logged in on Twitter to, you know, reply to some fans. He's really excited, so he's just taking a short break from working on the Batman Part 2 to engage and, you know, feel out what fans are saying about the Penguin preview, looking at the Batman popcorn buckets and things like that. So it's just a little bit more, you know, fuel for fire for the fandom, because I think at this point, given how long ago the movie came out, we're all in desperate need of just some crumbs. And this is kind of a bit of a repeated crumb, but given that it was said from the main man himself, I would say that it's quite a, you know, gilded crumb, if you will, at least for me. And I'm hoping to hear more. Like, I really do hope that the timeline that we're all theorizing about as we head towards Christmas, we would have heard some more bigger things. Like, I don't know if we want to go as crazy as saying, like, oh yeah, we're going to get casting, but never say never. But given that they are filming next year, we will be hearing stuff like that as we head into November, December, January. But also with the Penguin, we've got quite a bit to discuss here, because a couple of days ago now, we got the episode titles and runtimes for the first 4 episodes. So we have episode 1 being titled After Hours, and that is going to be a 1 hour and 7-minute episode. I do want to say, like, bear in mind there's credits, so that will shave off like a minute or so, but still, it's great seeing that they are like full on basically 1 hour episodes, no ads or anything like that. So After Hours, episode 2, Inside Man, 56 minutes long. Episode 3 is titled Bliss, and that is 59 minutes. And then episode 4 is that Shentani? Yeah, I think it's Shentani. I'm probably butchering that, but that's 58 minutes long. So I saw some people being like, oh, wait, it's only 4 episodes long? No, it's still 8 episodes. It's just we've got the episode titles of the first 4. So very happy about that with the episode lengths. Can't really take too much out of the episode titles. Well, I kind of know what episode 3's title is about from what I've heard behind the scenes, and that may or may not be to do with something that, you know, maybe a new drug on the streets with regards to what Oz is cooking, but that was kind of also heavily teased and revealed in the trailer. We've also got various looks at Colin Farrell and Renzi Feliz, who's playing Victor Aguila, basically, you know, the Robin to Penguin's Batman in the series. But another thing that you guys need to remember is that the Penguin is premiering, as we know, September 19th, which is a Thursday for the first episode, right? But after that, it's going to be episode 2, I'm assuming, or subsequent episodes after September 19th is going to be September 29th, which is 10 days afterwards. So not a week later, but 10 days, I guess. I don't really know why it's happening, because that is a typical HBO kind of show, a Sunday, so fair enough, Sunday 29th, but the first episode, at least, is on September 19th. I don't think they're doing a double episode drop. Do correct me if I'm wrong. I think it is just the first premiere episode and then subsequent episodes on September 29th. After that, we have got various little TV spots and promos coming out. A lot of recycled footage, but a couple of new scenes. One of them highlighting what I was just kind of teasing with regards to episode 3's title, Bliss, such as Oz walking through all of these little kind of warehouses, counting money. Oz quite literally says over this scene, whoever controls the streets controls the city, and I'm here now. I love that line. But enough of that for a second. We need to talk about, you know, just what was teased in the preview at the Batman appearing in theaters again. So obviously I can't show the recordings that people have done in the theater, and just to let you know, it's kind of like really something that I expect to be uploaded on YouTube after the fact. Maybe not. It could very well just remain an exclusive preview if you went to see the movie last night. Maybe some of you will comment saying you were there, you saw it. But it really is like a behind-the-scenes kind of thing where they get Colin Farrell, Matt Reeves, Lauren LaFranc, to Dylan Clark, the producer, to talk about the Penguin amongst, you know, teasers of various scenes. Nothing too spoilery at all. But I do, and I have kind of written out what I heard, and I want to say that here. So I'm just going to play the trailer while I read it out, and it's just awesome hearing about it. So if you didn't get to see it for yourself, this is what we heard. So Matt Reeves starts off by saying, I really wanted the story to begin the week after the movie, where the Penguin, who is completely underestimated, grabs for power in this power vacuum. Reeves then continues to say, the way the Penguin functions in the Batman is that he's a little bit of a red herring. What I really wanted to do is build that story out. So that's really the birth of the show. To me, what was very important is this idea of the high and the low, the idea of the parts of the city that are insulated, and then the people who are struggling just day to day to get by. The Penguin is really looking at the profound corruption of Gotham. It's a kind of dark American dream story, really. And this is where we had Colin Farrell saying things like, I loved playing the character in the film, designing the shape of Oz's body and his costume, and the whole thing was such a team effort. To only have 6 to 7 scenes in the film, I thought, is there any world where we can do more? You really get to try and understand his psychology, and so it's an extension of the Batman film. It's exploring a really different world, whereas, and this is kind of echoing what Lauren LaFranc said at Comic-Con, and this is where people are like, is Batman going to be in the show? So it's exploring a really different world, whereas the Batman lived in the upper echelons of the social structure of Gotham. This is down in the gutter, and that's why I've said, sure, we could still get Batman in the show, and I'm thinking that will be more towards the finale, if anything, But I do think they're trying to frame it that even though Batman goes into the gutter, so to speak, a lot of this point of view and perspective will be in the gutter, amongst the gangs, the power vacuum war that's going on. And sure, you could be like, well, it's a literal gang war. Batman would be there at points, but Batman can't be everywhere. So I assume a lot of the scenes we're going to get will be, just where Batman might not be, with Oz going around here and going around there, then going to see Sophia or like Johnny Vitti. Like Batman's not going to be there, and there. But I do expect maybe some references if we don't see him early on. That's if we see him at all. But I do expect some references from maybe some of the other gangs or crime bosses saying like, oh man, like he interrupted my operation on the docks last night. We need to like sort him out. But I think this is mainly about the power struggle. So if we see him at all, it'll be kind of like what I envision as what I've said before, this Batman Year One moment, and where there's this new status quo, this new, kind of parameter in Gotham with Oz as the new Kingpin, and they might kind of establish what the new setting is between each other, reminiscent of the scene in the first film where Batman shoves him against the glass. Now it's going to be a bit of a contrasted scene, and where maybe, let's just say, Batman can't get to him, or he like jumps in through the window, Batman Year One style, saying, this city is mine, and I'm not going to let you, and that's where Penguin's going to like want to eliminate that thorn in his side in the second movie, perhaps, because Batman's going to be a threat to his new position as Kingpin. But I am saying all of that based on this comment, obviously. Like, this is down in the gutter, and the Batman lived in the kind of upper echelons of the social structure of Gotham. I am very aware that Batman kind of would want to get involved in some of this gang war, but please don't let that set expectations to the point of where you're going to be like, oh, Batman's going to be here and there and everywhere. I think if we see him, it's not going to be so much as a literal teeny tiny cameo where you see him on a rooftop. I think it would be a scene or two or something a little bit larger, but nothing too crazy. We have Colin Farrell continue to say there are many gangs ruling Gotham, and they're all vying for real estate, and they're all vying for the drug trade. Now, I really hope that means we get to see more than just like the Falcone crime syndicate, the Maroni crime family. There are many gangs, he says. Obviously, we know that anyway, but I wasn't sure how much we were going to see. So it would be really cool if we get name drops to like, I don't know, Roman Zionists or something like that. Don't get your hopes or expectations too high, as I keep saying, but you never know. There's going to be probably a lot of like references and Easter eggs with the amount of screen time we're getting per bloody episode in the criminal underbelly of Gotham. There's so much opportunity there. And this is where we have Lauren LaFranc say Oz was not in the movie that much, so there was a ripe opportunity to really explore him in a deeper way. I thought about who should be the potential antagonist against Oz. What Matt established in the movie is that Carmine Falcone, who dies in the film, has a family. There's Alberto Falcone, and then there's Sophia Falcone. This is where Reeves then says Carmine knew, and this was actually a surprise to me, Carmine knew that Sophia was the smartest. He wanted her to really carry on the family. I say that's a surprise because I had a little theory in my head that maybe, let's just say they changed things up with the canon, and Alberto isn't the holiday killer in this iteration, but Sophia's hangman killings, even though she is the hangman killer in the comics, maybe it was really Alberto who did it. I know some of you don't like that theory, but I thought they might kind of do a bit of a switch and kind of bait and switch or whatever. And so in order to ensure his son becomes his successor, he puts his daughter away for those crimes. But here, Reeves is saying that he really wanted her to carry on the family because he knew she was the smartest. And that also matches up to what we know already, because Alberto Falcone's a bit of like a kind of drug addict, socialite kind of guy, really over his head and unequipped to like carry on the family business. So I wouldn't be surprised if he bites the dust and like the other, Falcone crime syndicate members like Johnny Vitti, played by Michael Kelly and whatnot, really don't want him to take over. I think there's going to be people like Johnny Vitti vying for power within as well. It's going to be nuts. Everyone's going to be like pointing a gun at everyone. So we have Reeves saying, Dylan and I, we were very excited about how we could embody this rise to power of Oz in this battle of wills and who is going to come out on top. So then Colin Farrell says, Oz always struggled in his life, so he's savvy in some ways in relation to the cruel mathematics of how the world works. I love how eloquently Colin Farrell talks about things in interviews, by the way. And this is where Lauren LaFranc says, when I first really started to dissect Oz and figure out what was driving him, my realization was I think he wants to be loved and revered. That is absolutely the case. You know, I loved how they got that across in the first trailer with his story about Rex Calabrese and how Oz, you know, is just talking in such admiration, and he wants that same respect, love, to be revered at the same time. To me, she continues to say, the deeper root issue would come from his mother. I wanted to write an interesting, complicated, tough as nails, broad story, and so I created Francis for that. Now, Dylan Clark then says, the morally corrupt individual that is Oz, seeking ambition in the city, that was always sort of the blueprint for the character. And inside of that was an exploration that is deep, emotional, disturbing, and also exciting in an entertainment way, much like gangster movies and television shows. Farrell then says Oz knows the world is a cruel place and why they get to live beneath the cruelty as a victim of it, and both the cruelty on those who deserve it more than you. I love that. I really do. And then Reeves finishes it off by saying something that I just love his vision for everything here. As you guys know, quite the Reeves fanboy here. These characters have been through tremendous trauma, losing my voice, and the idea about how all of that resonates against the place, and that Gotham is this place where people can live these forsaken lives, and it creates these lives of tremendous desperation, and it creates an emotional violence that ends up spilling out into the world of that city in physical violence. I think all of that, to me, is an exciting way of taking something that is this familiar, pop, iconic, mythic, fictional place and trying to find a way to make it relate to the real world. That is great. That's the character and the life and the essence that he's breathed into Gotham, and I love it. So that is everything that was said in the little preview. I'm very, very excited to see the show. Don't worry, we are going to be doing weekly episode breakdowns here. They're probably going to be very long, so make sure you get your popcorn ready. If you have your Batman popcorn bucket, that's a bonus, because we're going to go, you know, not just like me rambling about what I liked about the episode, but breakdown style, maybe some Easter eggs, references, maybe Loki's setup, or what could be, you know, me speculating about how things could echo into part 2. So make sure you are subscribed to the channel so you don't miss out on the episode breakdowns of The Penguin. And while we're on the subject of the Batverse, I wanted to give a quick shout out to a really cool fan project that's happening right now titled A Story of the Batman. They have a trailer that is released today. I'm going to play that for you right now. But if you want a Batman fix with a lot of effort that has been put into this, like, to me, is literally professional level quality. Like, I really want this to get the attention of Matt Reeves, Paul Dano, who did his own, obviously, graphic novel, The Riddler Year One. The description that I've been given is that it's a very personal story in relation to Bruce Wayne and a very character-driven story. Everything in the Batman 2022 film and prequel novel is canon to our comic, but it's completely made by fans for fans of the Batman. It's a not-for-profit and will be completely free to read on our website, not yet finished, or watch the motion version of our comic on the YouTube channel, which will have voice acting in it. The story takes heavy inspiration from some of the best Batman stories, Batman and Son, the Batman 2022, and Mask of the Phantasm to be specific, and the story is about Bruce attempting to open up to the world as Bruce Wayne and learning to become a more hopeful Batman, a story of relationships and mentorships through the eyes of a broken man. Definitely a personal story and relates a lot to overcoming trauma and depression. Part 1 releases again for free for everyone this coming November 29th. So guys, like, what I really like about this is that it's kind of carrying on like a natural flow of what we low-key expect to happen to Bruce after the first film. And again, I really can't wait to see this for myself because it's done to such a high standard. And I'm not even trying to blow smoke here, but you can kind of see that for yourself with what you saw on, or are seeing on screen right now. So please go check it out. Jackson Durr's done the artwork for it. Ford Films Media on Instagram wrote and produced it. I'll leave links in the description or in a top pin comment if you want to go check this out for yourself, show some support, and just get notified of when you can, you know, get hands-on with this yourself. Now, as for the DCU, we've got a couple of teeny tiny little tidbits here. We have David Corenswet having taken photos with Maria Gabriela de Fria here and her parents, and a lot of people were pointing out the shirt that he's wearing. It is really cool. A lot of us have got our Superman merch now, but we can't get this version with the black shirt with the silver Superman emblem there, because a lot of people were thinking like, oh my god, this means black suit. No, honestly, it's just an exclusive shirt for those of them who worked in the stunt department of the film. So you can see that it is a stunt shirt. It says that on the side there. But also, a lot of people are pointing out, look how Superman David Corenswet is, even with some side-by-side comparison images here. I just can't wait to see, obviously I can't wait to see just Superman in the movie, but in poses like this. And also another thing that I just found really cool is to give a bit of a shout out here to DC Film News, because they've hit 100,000 followers on Twitter, and we had James Gunn say congrats. Now, what I love about this is just how communicative James Gunn is with the fandom. I know some people feel like sometimes that has been to a detriment, but I really love the transparency. It kind of establishes this synergy between the fandom and the creator, the guy who's handling the new live-action DCU. They pay attention to accounts like DC Film News, and the fact that he shouted them out is amazing. We also had Alex Ross himself say the same thing, and he actually used Job Hutz's artwork because he made an exclusive artwork congratulating DC Film News for the 100K milestone on Twitter. And yeah, it's awesome that Alex Ross used that, and a shout out to Job Hutz, because we've used a lot of his artwork here on the channel. He does a lot of mock-ups of not only DC, but other franchises as well, but he's done some great stuff here. And yeah, just a shout out to them both, because it's just amazing to see. And then there's some other little DCU teasers, just something from James Gunn here. It was quite cool how he kind of quote threaded a DC account who just went through like various comic book moments, cool little things, references, lore that they would like the DCU to recreate. And Gunn said, gosh, DC Official is full of such fun lore. Can't wait to see some of these moments and the thousands of more like them on the big and small screen. Thanks for the fun thread. And he kind of gave an example, I believe, of one of those things that he is including, and that is Chocos. Like, they actually have a little box of Chocos here. And we know that they are canon in Superman because we saw advertisements for them on the set. Obviously, this is quite a reference to Martian Manhunter because it's his favorite thing to snack on. And I believe this will be in Peacemaker. Maybe Peacemaker and the Peacemaker crew are eating them. But it's nice to know that Gunn is also very excited himself with his knowledge of DC Comics. He's probably got all of these ideas of things that he wants to like implement like this into the big screen movies, but also the smaller screen stuff, like what could pop up in Lanterns. So if you have any ideas for yourself with DC comic book moments, and I'm probably showing you the thread of what James Gunn quoted, maybe moments like this could appear in Superman with him saving the person who was about to jump off the building, Batman snapping a gun in The Brave and the Bold, perhaps. There's tons of like cool things they can do. Lex Luthor and Joker interacting. And then we also have a couple of new cool Joker images. We have like I believe it was like a Deadline magazine cover. I really like this one. Just kind of the attitude and sass that Harley Quinn is giving there back to back with Joaquin Phoenix's Joker. We've got some character posters going on here. But what is also interesting about this is that if you live in India, as Warner Brothers India says here, the most anticipated sequel is coming earlier than expected. Joker Folie à Deux releases in cinemas in India 2 days earlier on Wednesday. So, what? That's on my birthday, October 2nd. I might try and get a flight out to India. Probably not. No, I can't afford that. But either way, beware spoilers, I guess, because it will be releasing a couple of days earlier. And there's some other little posters going on. The famous Joker Steps dance, but also with that of Harleen Quinzel there. We've got a new promo photo of the trial in the Superior Court of Gotham, with Harleen Quinzel being right at the front of the courtroom and Joker going over to her. This could be grounded in reality, or maybe it isn't. I don't know. Like, that's the whole thing about this movie. It's going to be so interesting to watch scenes unfold like that and figure out what is a delusion and what isn't. But ladies and gentlemen, I think I'm going to end that news roundup there. It's been another long one as usual, but I would love to know your thoughts on all the stories that we covered in today's video. If you enjoyed this video, I'd really appreciate a like. Consider, as I always say here, subscribing. You might think you're already subscribed, but you might not be, and I say that because I probably pop up on your recommended, and that's how you watch me, but I get a lot of you saying, oh, it turns out I'm one of those people and I'm not subscribed. So maybe today is the day you'll subscribe. But until next time, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to be a bit busy next couple of days, so I don't know if there's going to be a video until early next week. We're going to have to wait and see. But if there isn't, I'll see you then. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day, and I'll see all of you guys in the next video. Goodbye.